Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Can you believe it is December already? This just blows my mind. These cozy months are going by too quickly. We gotta slow down. So it is December 1st and I am ready to announce my 2025 Children's Classic Read-Along. This is going to be a year-long read-along. I'm doing 2 reading events actually in 2025 so far. My other one will be in January, which I will announce here in a couple of days. But I wanted to get this information out to you guys so you can start collecting the books. I'm really excited about this read-along. It's actually going to be my first read-along that I have hosted here on my channel, so that's exciting for me. We are going to have a Discord group that you guys can join if you're interested in. I will put the link for that down in the description box. And on that Discord group, we will have several different chats. We will talk about the monthly book, but we will also have a chat open for talking about children's literature in general and book recommendations and kind of compiling some lists for future read-alongs in years to come. So everything on this list is kind of, US, Europe centric, but I am definitely open to the idea of reading children's literature from other places in the world. I just don't know what else out there. So hopefully we can come up with a lot of ideas there on that Discord group, but it'll just be a great place to get to know each other, to chat, to share our bookish videos on the subject, and just make it a fun little community through the year 2025 talking about classic children's literature. Now, all the books on this list were published as early as 1816 and as late as 1952. Some of them are old favorites for me, and then there's a couple on here that I have never read before. So I will be very interested to find out how many of you have read the books on this list, at least some of them, all of them, none of them. And again, I would love for you to join us for the read-along. So let's get into the books that we are reading. So my daughter Avalon, who is almost 16, she helped sort of put these books into the order that we have them in based on the time of year each one of these books kind of evokes in her, right? So this list was partially compiled by Avalon. We can thank her for that. So for the month of January, we are going to read A Little White Horse by Elizabeth Goudge. Partly because I just really want to read this one. I can't wait. And partly because it just kind of, I don't know, especially the film version of this, The Secret of Moonacre, it does kind of give a wintry feeling. I can't even actually remember what time of year this book is set or when that movie is set, but that's just the feeling it gives. It's kind of a dark and wintry atmosphere. But anyway, The Little White Horse by Elizabeth Goudge. This was published in the UK in 1946, but it is set in 1842. It is a family favorite book. I'm really, really looking forward to reading this one. All right, next up is The Prince and the Pauper by Mark Twain. This one was published in the US in 1881. And why this is the February pick, I guess, is because, again, I think there are some dark and moody elements to this tale, and we just thought, winter is still a little dark in February. This will be a good fit. And I have actually never read this book before. You've heard me talk and rant about Mark Twain in the past, so I've kind of been avoiding, but I think I need to give the dude another chance. So we're going to read The Prince and the Pauper. I think that I will really enjoy this story, and I'm looking forward to talking about this with you guys. For March, we have The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett, which was published in the US in 1911. March is when things start to pop out of the ground around here anyway, and so we thought that that would be a perfect pick for March, as it is all about new life, right? And rebirth and redemption. Just new things, right? All right, and then for April, we're going to do The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. This was published in the US in the year 1900. Now, we picked this for April because around here, April is tornado season, where we are here in Northwest Arkansas. That is when our tornado season technically begins, although lately, tornado season has kind of been all year long, every day, every year. So anyway, traditionally, it is supposed to start in April. And so we picked The Wizard of Oz for April. Now, this is a story I've read before, but haven't read for a while. I love this edition. It is kind of this cool, looks like it's embroidered, right? And then the inside of it looks like the back of a piece of embroidery where it's all the little threads that you're kind of tying off. I purchased this in Michigan in April, and I would love to get more in this series. This kind of is called Penguin Threads. So the Penguin Threads series, if I could find some more of these, that would be great. This is not actually as thick as it looks. The story of The Wizard of Oz is only about 100 pages long, but this edition here has 3 different stories in it. So of course we'll just be reading the first one. And it does remind me, when you're looking for these books, try and look for unabridged versions, versions that aren't necessarily written for kids or sort of, you know, condensed. Maybe that's better. For children, you want to try and look for the original version. We'll have a much meatier discussion if we can discuss the originals. Some of these were written for kids, but they were also kind of written for adults. Wizard of Oz is one of them. It has a lot of symbolism in there that kids wouldn't understand, but adults, you know, a lot of adult politics in there that adults definitely get. Another one of those is Alice in Wonderland, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. This one was published in the UK in 1865. And again, it has lots of political connotations in here, some of which I don't even fully understand myself. So I'm hoping there will be some of you who join this read along who can shed some deeper insight onto the political messages in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And, you know, just because that's interesting to me, I think that that is very creative when you can tell a tale that speaks to adults and children at the same time on different levels about completely different things. And it's a great story both ways. And we chose that for May because, you know, White Rabbit, May, springtime, springy. She's outside. She's wearing her spring dress. I don't know. Just gives you all that May, that feeling of May. June is King of the Golden River by John Ruskin. This was published in the UK in 1851. I don't know a whole ton about this book. It's been one that some of my kids have read over the years and enjoyed. I honestly chose it for June because the cover is orangey and yellow like a sunshine, and that's when it starts getting hot around here. So I'm telling you, but it's going to be fine. So apparently this is a really popular and beloved story in the UK, and I don't know how popular it is here in the US, but it has been on my kids' reading lists in the past for some of the homeschool curriculum that we've used. So we're going to take a look at that. Brand new story for me. In July, we're going to do A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett, which was published in the US in 1905. This copy and my copy of The Secret Garden are both illustrated by Tasha Tudor, who is my favorite artist ever, at least modern artist or illustrator, I guess. And I'm looking forward to reading these editions. I've not actually ever read these particular editions, but of course I know the story very well. But when we get to that month and we're sharing the story, I want to share with you guys the old antique copy I have of the story that actually sparked this story. So in the 1880s, 90s, late 1800s, Frances Hodgson Burnett published a story called Sarah Crewe something Princess, and it was the early version of the story Little Princess. And I have not actually read that version, which if I have the time during the month of July, I may decide to read both of them and do sort of a comparative thing. But I'll show you guys that book because it's really pretty and it's cool that, you know, that I found that. But then, you know, she revised and then published this in 1905. So it's a fun story there. In August, we're going to do Charlotte's Web. This is the latest story on our pile. This is published in the US in 1952. And we're doing it in August because it is a story that is all centered around a county fair. And around here, anyway, the county fairs take place in the month of August. And so I thought that would be fitting. This is a really sweet story that I had never really read all the way through, except maybe when I was a little kid. My mom might have read it to me, but I don't remember. But this is my story. This is my copy from when I was a kid. But I read this all the way through with my daughter Cynthia in 2022. I have it written here in the front, and we loved this story. We cried. It was a good story. So we'll go through that in August. In September, we're going to do Pinocchio by Carlo Collodi. This one was published in 1883. I guess I want to assume it was published in Italy, but I don't know exactly, but it was published in Europe for sure. In 1883, I have not read this story for years, but I love this vintage copy that I have of this. I read it to my kids years ago, and it will be really fun to revisit it. And the inner cover here does say it is an Italian juvenile classic. So We're going to assume it was published in Italy. But we can look more into the history of it when we get to September. We chose it for September because Pinocchio goes to school, and school starts in September. Or at least it did when I was little. I think it starts earlier in August now, but when I was a kid, it was September. For October, we are doing The Princess and the Goblin by George MacDonald. This was published in the UK, I believe, in 1872. And I've never read this story before. Now, I don't know why, but I always get George MacDonald and Charles Kingsley mixed up. And the only thing I've read by Charles Kingsley that I remember is The Water Babies, and I despised that story so bad. And so every time I see this sitting on my shelf, which has been on my shelf for years, and my kids have been reading it and stuff over the years, I think Charles Kingsley and The Water Babies, and I'm like, no, absolutely not. I am not reading that story. It's not him. It's a different guy, George MacDonald. So I will try to not hold any bias against him as I go into this story in October and just put it out of my head. Different guy. I've never read this guy as far as I know, so he deserves his own chance at impressing me. For November, we're going to do The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. This one was published in the UK in 1950, set in 1940. Avalon thinks that this gives very November-y vibes, is what she said. So we are doing this one in November. Looking forward to that. Of course, I've seen the film, but I have never read the story, which is sad because they've been on my shelf. I've had these books since my oldest was 8 and she's now 25, so probably should have read that. And then last, for December, we are reading The Nutcracker and the Mouse King by E.T.A. Hoffmann, which was published in 1816. I don't have my copy of that anymore. I guess I unhauled it in some fit of zealousness, and now I gotta buy another one. But that is our oldest story, published in 1816 in Germany, and then retold by several different authors over the years in book form, in film form, on stage form. It's a well-known story, The Nutcracker and the Mouse King, but we are going to read the original E.T.A. Hoffmann version from 1816. So that will be fun to look into the history of that and different adaptations and all that stuff in December. So that's it. That's our list. I hope you will join us for this read along. I think it's going to be really fun. They're all, shorter books that aren't going to take us very long, but they're going to just spark up so much fun discussion and nostalgia and all the things. So go right now, click the Discord link, join us, get in there so you don't forget. And then make sure and subscribe to the channel so that you can get all of the update videos each month as I put them out on the topics. So hope you guys are having a beautiful day. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.